what I'm saying is someone's still gonna win, and it might be if
I know
half the field, just about half the field is playing badly. With golf, you can easily say, "Oh, the course must be hard. They're all playing bad." You know what I mean? It all kind of comes back to earth a little bit.
Sergio has been like, I can't wait to leave this place. Rah, 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 rah.
Yeah. And good evening on a special Monday night appearance here at the Divots and Pivots show. Yes, it is Monday night, not Tuesday night, but we will re-air this Tuesday night. So if you're listening Tuesday night at the regular time, 8 o'clock, don't worry. It is still accurate. Sorry. I am not feeling great today, guys. But yes, I do have a work commitment tomorrow night. So that's why we are changing the schedule for this week, 1 week only. But as always, it is 8 o'clock here, YouTube, Twitter. Welcome to Divots and Pivots. And Bud, as always, is here joining me. And look, just as a quick shout out here to start us off, I am repping the new Mala Brothers Divots and Pivots Second Ball All-American t-shirts. So if you want one of these t-shirts, our first ever merch here on Divots and Pivots, go over to the link on my Twitter at Mr. Mallard or on the Divots and Pivots show Twitter. Go to the link, use the discount code DIVPIV for 10% off. You can get any color of our merchandise of the Divots and Pivots Second Ball All-American shirt, as well as any of the Mala Brothers shirts and hats options that they have there. They have a fantastic selection. I got a ton of new golf shirts, and I am thrilled with them. They are so comfortable. They fit just right. So go check it out. DivPivs, that's DIVPIV, 10% off. And Bud, I've waited long enough. Welcome to the show on this special Monday night edition. And there's the crack of the beer. How are you?
USA.
Yes, no shocker
USA.
there, right?
Oh my God, man. It was fun. It was a fun weekend. I'm over the moon. I like that my premonitions kind of came true in the sense that, I mean, looking back, 5-point win. In reality, it was close. I mean, it was closer than the experts think. A couple holes here, a couple holes there. There were some good stats that were kind of cobbled together by people way smarter than myself. So naturally, I'll tell them. I'm not going to take credit for them, but we'll talk about them later. That highlight where it all went right and where it all went wrong. But I think the overall theme of the weekend is what happened to Liv. I feel like, honest to God, I feel like they. And of course, I am in the moment. Recency bias, right? I mean, I was like this.
Sure.
People say, "Oh, you were flying high on Liv after Bolton." No, I was flying high because it was a cool experience. I wasn't changing my tune necessarily on the longevity. And Hardy last week, thanks for stopping by, and he helped kind of put it in perspective too. Big picture it. That in the end, there's still kind of a why question going on. By the way, real quick, hard pause. DivPiv will also get you 10% off at Piper Golf. So Piper.golf, DivPiv, get your 10% off. Go out there, take your test. The boys at Piper are here in New England. They were down on the Cape. I saw it on their social medias. Hopefully they're having a good time. So if you see the boys from Piper Golf, tell them the boys from Divots and Pivots said hello. Or better yet, just go buy some of their stuff and use our promo code DivPiv. But this felt like it was, for months and months and months, taking heat. Our big players have gone. Is this really the new golf? And then here comes this thing and storylines. And again, a little bit of recency bias, but storylines oozing out the, relative unknowns, pushing our tried and true badass team to the limits, going to bed Friday night up 8-2. It was this weird, it was this kind of weird, like, dadgummit. I know there's a real possibility we could just get 7 points tomorrow between the two sessions, and this is over, and Sunday's kind of a walk, which I didn't want. I wanted Sunday drama. We got some Sunday drama, but it started Saturday night. I know you said that you weren't able to kind of watch all of it.
Saturday's I wasn't able to.
What do you mean? You have a life?
I have kids.
You mean you weren't? Hold on. You mean you weren't walking around Stop and Shop with an earbud in and President's Cup coverage on?
I've been there before. I've done it before. I just did it this time.
It's a bad addiction. No. So Saturday evening, though, we go to bed Friday night, up 8-2. Saturday morning, we split the singles. Now it's 10-4, 6-point lead, and you're thinking, there's no way. It's just – and Sure enough, in the afternoon, JT and Justin Spieth, J Ball. I guess we're calling this J Ball. I don't know. How I don't know how I feel about J Ball, but I'm
not
gonna
a
go
big
with
fan
J
of
Ball.
that. Not gonna lie.
I'm gonna So, anyways, J Ball goes 4-0 on the week, and Saturday they wrap up things 4-3, and it kind of looks like, oh geez, thanks for coming out, and then out of nowhere, Tom Kim, makes a putt, and I'm trying to look who else was there.
I told you all last week that the international team, even if they weren't going to win, they had some scrappy guys that weren't necessarily just going to lay down if they were down.
Right. And so J Ball wins. Adam Scott and Cam Davis, talk about a cool story. Looked like they were going to get just mowed over by Billy Ho and Sam Burns. Sam Burns probably played the best golf of somebody without a win the entire weekend. But Cam Davis goes like birdie, eagle, birdie, or birdie, birdie, eagle, birdie. He's playing with his childhood hero. It's kind of like if Max Homa and Tiger Woods were paired up. You got Adam Scott and Cam Davis, Aussies, and they eke out a win. Sung J M and Sebastian Munoz, handily take care of Tony Finau and Kevin Kisner. And then Tom Kim drips this putt in on 18. Did you see? You got to watch this. He literally
I'll see if I can pull it up.
There's some great freeze frames of his putter grip hitting the ground before the ball even like disappeared, and he's turning. And I am a huge Tom Kim fan. I'm on the train. I love him. I think he's going to be a star. He apparently picked up golf at 9 years old, went pro at 15, and now he's 20, and he's just taking down giants. Follow Tom Kim. So Saturday night we go to bed, and it looked like kind of that Ben Crenshaw, I got a funny feeling. And you had people even saying, I think it was DL3 in one of his press conferences says, I know a little something about comebacks. Like we're not taking anything for granted. Justin Thomas, somebody asked him, what's the mood in the locker room? He goes, nobody has to say anything. Everybody knows what they have to do tomorrow. And it was cool to feel that again, like to be like, oh shit, this got real. And I do think growing up with this and being skeptical in the early goings, especially with the amount of, and it still has been since 98. So whatever years since the international team has won, there's a different vibe after this one, after the last couple, but this one specifically, somebody out there on the Twitter sphere said, this is the first tournament where you can really feel, or the live guys are missed. And I was like, by who? Yeah. And I do like somebody else.
Even though I didn't watch, I was still paying very close attention to the social media around it. It was not the impression I got either from that standpoint.
No,
like, it wasn't there was
some
complaining or anything. I did not get the impression that that people thought that the President's Cup was necessarily lacking.
No, again, I think it actually went over the different direction. I think we might see a repeat captaincy with Trevor Immelman and this crew. I think they might have said, you know what, we got something here. Because watching them, some of my favorite stuff we'll get into with your boy Kiz. But right after it was all said and done, where Trevor Immelman was greeting all the players after their matches. Love you, brother. You played like a champion out there that we fought. Yep. He's like, all right, now let's go root on. Let's go root on. It was like, let's go root on the next guy. And he was giving it to some of the journalists who tried to play the live card or is this a real event? And he was saying, I'm sick of people who were talking about this team like they're a joke. And you step back and you look how young they are. And they do have some accomplishments over there to hang their hat on. And I mean, geez, 6 or 7 I think they had 8 rookies. And this is and some of them admitted it. They're like, this is the biggest thing we've ever done in our lives.
There's nothing wrong with admitting that. At some point, everybody's got to do the biggest thing in their life. Like,
and I'll tell you what, I don't think there's not an American player who would want to go line up again right now. It's like that was a battle. Like, those guys are busted and bruised, and then I can't imagine what they got into last night. We are recording this. We're on Monday. So. Have you seen any of the shenanigans or any of the quotes and everything?
I admittedly, I have been in bed all day. I have not seen anything all day today coming out of the weekend.
You and your health. I think it's no surprise Kevin Kisner won the press conference, basically flat out saying, I think,
of course he did.
I'm gonna summarize here, but he was basically saying, I've never been around a group of guys who are a better world-class group of golfers and a worse group of partiers in my life. He was basically playing He was saying I was brought onto this team. I was brought on here to be funny,
Yep.
to putt, and he goes in for tonight, and it was like kind of that vibe. It was they're going all out. It's gonna be a scene, and then
he's to draw a comparison. He's the Johnny Gomes of the U.S. golf team, where you want to go to war with anybody, you want to go to war with Johnny.
I want to start a campaign right now. Kids in Rome, instead of when in Rome, get it? Because the right. Thank you. The Ryder Cup's in Rome, and I think what Kiz has proven for a few international teams there, it was given to Phil. Phil was that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Phil was the elder statesman who had been there, done that, and could see people through the pressure. I think Kiz, people think you have to. Kiz doesn't have a major to his name, but he's a professional golfer, and he knows what he's doing. And I think the best part about him is his humility, and you need that in that team room, because if you are flying high like the U.S. team was early, you can get a little too close to the sun and not back down before your wings melt. I will give you $5 if you tell me what that's a reference to.
Hit me with it. I can't think straight, man.
Greek mythology, Icarus.
You see the Greek with look.
You don't get that with any other golf show. All right, so the pod juice tonight is Laser Cat. It's the Imperial IPA from Laser Cat, and I think this is Medusa Brewing in Hudson, Mass. What do you got over there?
In Hudson, Mass. Okay, I've been out to Hudson. They get some good stuff out there. I have just this is 19 Crimes Red. I
like 19
Cabernet. It's a Cabernet Sauvignon. 19 Crimes.
I'm a sucker for decent marketing, and they've got some good. Good.
So you know what I love? I found this one wine at Sam's Club. If you're familiar with Sam's Club at all,
very much so.
Store. Yeah. So Sam's Club, they sell what's it?
That's where the shirt came from.
I love it. 1914, I believe is what it's called. It's 1914. It's a Cabernet, and it's a whiskey barrel aged Cabernet, and it's one of the best wines I've ever had, and it's a $13 bottle of wine. It's freaking fantastic.
How about this? You give me the whiskey, you can keep the barrel for your wine, sissy boy. No, that actually sounds delicious.
It was delicious.
And I bet they were drinking a lot more than just Mick Ultra. I know Michelob Ultra sponsors the PGA Tour official beer, yada, yada, yada. I loved seeing some of these imperial-sized bottles that were specially made for the President's Cup. And again, a whore for branding over here. Shouts to Mick Ultra. I thought it was some really classy stuff they were looking out there. Did you see the big belly guy?
The what?
Good Lord, son.
No, I just didn't hear you for real. Like, I actually didn't hear what you said.
Sorry, big belly. People out there be like, calm down, bud. Don't be such a dick. If you just Google big belly guy in President's Cup, there should be, and go to images. Don't go to images. Don't do that at all. Oh, God, who are these things? Yeah, I don't know. There's a guy, and he'll be on social media. You'll see him. He'll be a meme for years. Got to be $4 bills, if at least. And he was standing behind, I think it was Sung J M, and he had his shirt pulled up and just had this magnificently huge, magnanimous. It was a very generous belly. No, he had this huge belly hanging out. It was like the Mick Ultra guy who got famous standing behind Tiger. Was holding the same pose and everything, classic stuff. So there's a lot of winning going on at the President's Cup this weekend.
Yes.
The USA won. Social media definitely won.
Kevin Kisner won. Won.
Max Homa, I guess it was Max Homa, tweeted out this morning, "I am unwell." Justin Thomas retweet. I think, I don't know, Kiz came in somewhere. There was some good shtick going back and forth. Now, real quick on the President's Cup, I said earlier, I think we could see a repeat of Trevor Immelman.
Yeah,
I don't think we will, because he's about to go into the NBC tower and take over Nick Faldo's spot. And I don't think he's going to turn down that.
Yeah, I can't see him turning that down either.
For pro bono work.
And look, he does a decent job at it too. Like, he doesn't do a bad job at the commentating, so go for it.
I think he might be. I think he might stay. We might see him as a vice captain forever. It's kind of like in the Ryder Cup. I don't know if you noticed, Steve Stricker was a vice captain here, or assistant captain. I don't know what term they're using. So I could see Trevor Immelman being a staple, which I think he should be. I absolutely loved the way he spoke. I wanted to go play for him after hearing him talk, and the way they talk about the Shield, and they've created this entity now. And I mentioned earlier there's some stats that kind of opened the eyes. And the President's Cup's a baby. We want
it was created in what, 93?
94.
Right? 94, okay.
93, 94, tomato. The first 25 Ryder Cups apparently were like 22 3 and 1 or 21 3 and 1. Apparently it was so lopsided for decades. And that's kind of what forced Team Great Britain to open up and bring in mainland Europe, that along with the fact that Seve was just a baller. But we could be seeing that tipping point here. They're not going to add more players. As a matter of fact, I do think that LIV is just going to go on as an exhibition league, especially the way their contracts are set up. If you saw any of the Taylor Gooch stuff that just got leaked, his contract, some sections of it got leaked. But I think we're going to see we're going to see much more wins. We're going to see many more wins from the international side in our lifetime because Tom Kim's not going anywhere. Sung J M's not going anywhere. Siwoo Kim's not going anywhere. Cam Davis is not going anywhere. Cam Smith might be coming back. Corey Connors isn't going anywhere. Taylor Pendrith. These guys are young. And so that's why also when Immelman's like, this team's not a joke, I think he also means in the sense of like, just stick around. That said, I like the way we stack up. I think, for every Tom Kim, we have a Max Homa. For every Siwoo Kim, we got a Scotty Scheffler. For every Hideki Matsuyama, we got Jordan Spieth or Justin Thomas. So we match up as well. It's going to be fun to watch international golf for the next few years. I don't know what Ryder Cup Europe's going to do because that ass whooping at Whistling Straits is the kind that we took, and I can't remember exactly where it was, but afterwards USA Golf created the task force and all this kind of nonsense. But at the end of the day, organizationally, you can set everything up how you want to. You have to have people with the grit of Davis Love III or the passion of Trevor Immelman or the gravitas of Tiger Woods or Rory McIlroy to win these things. These guys want leaders in the clubhouse. They want to go to battle. They have to convince themselves. You have to create that. I mean, letting them play ping pong until 2 a.m. and shit. It works.
Sure.
And they play better, and they play better because of it. I really didn't expect Scotty Scheffler to lose Sunday, but I think that was I don't know. He just got picked up. There was one hole where his opponent,
if I remember correctly, he was kind of disappointing all around on the weekend, right? I mean,
he was
for the whole
lackluster.
President's Cup, he kind of disappointed as far as what he was able to provide.
He did sit out one of the sessions, and no, he did okay. I think I'm trying to pull up the scoreboard. Not Sanderson Farms. PGA Tours.
Because I think on Thursday, day one, it was him and Burns, right? And weren't they the only ones to lose? Was it Scheffler and Burns were the only U.S. team to lose on day one? Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, you are. And then he drew on Tuesday, lost, sat out, and lost. Yeah, lackluster performance from the world number one. But then again, Tiger Woods wasn't that great. He doesn't have an awesome international record either. I love the little clicking. I love when you get on the keyboard and you go after. You are searching.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to do side work, and yes, I have a very loud keyboard. And not side work I mean for the show. Like my attention's on the show. That came out so wrong. What I mean is I'm trying to pull up topics that are relevant to what you're talking about because I have a hard time keeping up with your stories sometimes.
You and me both to be in my brain. So the party probably went all night. I would kill to be a fly on the wall. Tom Kim, I saw a shot of him once again, the Tom Kim show. He's hanging out with the USA team in the after party. And this morning there was a shot of him with his shirt off and the entire USA team had signed his body. Like this is the kind of golf our country deserves and the kind of golf our country needs.
It's the kind of golf needs. Forget about our country. Golf just needs that. Like what? Like, yeah, sure.
Sorry, we're going into campaign season. So Taylor Gooch. Actually, hold on. President's Cup. Anything else? Yes. I mean,
Look, like I said, it wasn't a very
Look at you.
shocking.
Pop quiz, hot shot. Did you do the reading? You did not.
It wasn't a very shocking weekend. U.S. came out and won. Yes, they won maybe a little bit closer than people thought they were going to, but that didn't shock me because, as I said last week, I thought the internationals were gritty enough to be able to win a couple matches, but everything pretty much played out the way I figured it would. So that's the President's Cup, yeah.
Are you pissed off because the Patriots suck again?
So look, here's what the Patriots did to me this weekend. I'd
love to hear this because after getting boo-fooed by your advice, I went back to the FanDuel guru, and that didn't do me any good either. So we're gonna have to work on a hybrid approach.
So Sunday, I spent the whole morning pretty much saying like the Patriots are gonna lose this game. I think they'll be able to keep it close. But they're gonna lose. So like I was prepared for a loss, and I was like, you know what, it wouldn't even shock me if it was a blowout loss. Like I was prepared for that was my expectations. And then they gave me hope throughout the game. And then you know they had the lead, and then Nelson Aguilar had the big catch, and he's running on the field, and then he gets it punched out from behind, and then Mac Jones throws 2 fourth quarter interceptions, and
three picks in 4 possessions.
They just gave me hope. And I fell for it. And I just fell for it. And then I found myself at the end of the game, for some reason, even though I knew they were going to I knew they were going to lose. And I knew that even the final score was closer than I thought it could have been. I was prepared for a blowout, and they only lost by 11 in the end. And I still found myself yelling at the TV, pissed off, because they freaking gave me hope. And that's what I hated about it. I would have rather them just be down the whole time. But you know what? Look. The offense showed some serious signs of improvements and production, and I think it was the fact that they were able to put up 26 points when they weren't even sniffing 20 this year so far in the first 2 weeks. Like that's big. Yes, they made some silly mistakes. Mac Jones needs to go back and look at the tape if he's even going to be able to play, because that was the other big thing. He got hurt, and it sounds like it's a high ankle sprain. He's going to have an MRI to confirm it, but the x-rays are negative for broken bones. It's a high ankle sprain that's being classified right now, so he might have to sit a couple weeks.
Brian Hoyer?
He might, but you know what? That's not the end of the world right now. Brian Hoyer actually ran this offense better in preseason than Mac Jones did, so like it's not the end of the world. And I think Mac Jones is still in a place in his career developmentally where it's not that big of a drop off from Mac Jones to Brian Hoyer. It wouldn't shock me if Brian Hoyer, say Mac Jones missed, 2 to 3 weeks if Brian Hoyer could get a win, maybe even 2 wins for this team. Because look, the offense as a whole played a lot better. The offensive line looked great. They were getting the tight ends more involved. This defense is continuing to surprise me. So listen, the Patriots, they lost. But what I saw from them, even though they made silly, stupid errors that they need to go back and look at the tape and say, man, we could have avoided that, I still think it was a step in the right direction, considering the expectations on the year as a whole.
So Google tells me, first of all, ball security period. You're right. They don't turn the ball over, and they might actually win that. Not going away, but I mean, they were driving, they were moving when those turnovers happened. It wasn't like it was.
Yeah, it wasn't like it wasn't a Hail Mary or something. Like they had momentum.
Yeah, the Big Mo baby. So all right, the Googler says 6 to 8 weeks for a high ankle sprain.
Mm-hmm. Very possible. It depends on if that is actually what it is. It depends on if he's able to withstand playing through like a cortisone shot or whatever. There's so many things like that for the NFL that can make it more. But
I was just trying to gauge your own reaction, because it's September. You don't award the whole.
It wouldn't shock me if you missed 4 to 6 weeks. Is what I'm thinking. It wouldn't shock me if you missed 4 to 6 weeks.
So we're talking Thanksgiving at worst.
Yeah. Which, talking about Thanksgiving, we might be able to give. I believe on this Thanksgiving. Sorry, this is a complete detour.
This shit went off the rails a long time.
This is a complete detour, but think about how fantastic Thanksgiving as a sports fan is going to be this year. We're going to have football as always, but we're also going to have World Cup soccer on Thanksgiving this year.
That's right.
Because the World Cup starts in November.
I get to be a soccer fan this
year. We're gonna get football. We're gonna get worldwide football.
We're soccer fans again.
So much sports on Thanksgiving this year. I'm thrilled. It's going to be fantastic.
That's going to be our next T-shirt. So much sports.
I am not in my right mind tonight.
So
I am
much more
sorry.
room for activity. The joke's less funny when you explain it.
Yes.
High ankle sprain, 6 to 8 weeks. If you don't award the Heisman in September and you don't judge a Patriots team in September, Bill Belichick is famous for not phoning it in, but testing it out, saying,
yes.
September's I think the only way it could be a true loss is if they ever went 1-3, 0-4. But I love when they go 2-2 and everybody's hair's on fire, and that's how we got on to Cincinnati. And I'll say that's something refreshing and reassuring about NFL football, because college ain't like that, right? You drop one and then it's teeth chattering time. I look at a team like Texas A&M. Arkansas doinks one at the buzzer, and they're yeah, this is a great win. And Jimbo, we got some things to figure out. We got a lot of work to do, but these tough guys right here, and they bounce back. Jimbo, you lost to App State, you lost to James Madison. I know we don't like to do the law of transference here, but there's something to be said about that. Your one loss is not a quality loss. You did. It wasn't like, it's not even like Alabama, who's going to come see you later, or I don't know who's where, but they got to play Alabama this year too, every year in the West. That's a quality loss. Anybody in the SEC West is a quality loss. App State's not a quality loss. So y'all could run the board here, and you're going to find yourself on the outside wanting. Ohio State is Ohio State, and they're, it's going to come down to Ohio State, Michigan again, because I don't see Penn State doing much of anything, and Michigan State's a freaking joke. So I guess the real football is just going to be found in Athens, huh?
Sure.
Do you even know what I'm talking about? That's where Georgia is.
I did just quickly check the Georgia's record, though, and I see they are top of the SEC, so they are having themselves a good year.
They're on top of the country, son. They're number one. And quick. They've got a lot of work to do, because they got a visit from Kent State. They paid $1 million to come get pushed around by a small team from the Midwest. So back to you in the studio. There's your football 5.
Well, and this is the thing with the Patriots too. When it comes to the Patriots here, this is going to be their hardest section of the schedule as well. In reports, I just did double check. Reports are that Mac Jones will miss multiple weeks. No surprise. So to expect that, like I said, I do think Brian Hoyer is capable enough to still be able to get a win or two. If he misses 4 weeks, he can get them a couple wins, and then the schedule is only going to get easier for them as the season goes on. Obviously, they still have to play Buffalo twice. They still have to play Miami one more time. So those are 3 games right there that have probably chalk them up to losses. So if you do that, you're talking 1-5 at this point. But if they can rattle off a couple more wins right there, then on the other games, then maybe they are on the edge. I still don't think they make the playoffs, but maybe they keep it interesting come the final couple weeks of the season, and they're right there on the edge. I still think this is like an 8-9, 9-8 kind of team. So we'll just kind of see how it plays out. The Mac Jones injury is going to change a lot, obviously.
I have got to see. I still get messed up on how many games are we playing now? 17, 18 games? 17 games. 17 games, 18 weeks. Sorry. Yeah, thank you. That just was what I was talking about. Like, I still get mixed up on the math when I hear people do that. Did you see this Tua Tagovailoa head bouncing off the turf?
Yes, and then it ended up being classified as a back injury, because he did come back, which means he came back into the game, which means he cleared concussion protocol. But now the NFLPA is investigating whether that concussion protocol was done correctly, and they want to make sure that he didn't actually have a concussion and was still let back in the game. It does sound like it was a lower back injury, according to the coach Mike McDaniels for the Dolphins, who said the reason why he looked so wobbly in the field wasn't because it was a concussion, which he also thought when he first saw it live. But as Tua described it, it was because his lower back felt like Gumby, is the quote that Tua said to Mike McDaniels, and that Mike McDaniels then echoed to the media. So yes, even though the video looked like you would assume a concussion because of the way he hit his head on the ground, apparently it's a lower back injury. But that is exactly what the NFLPA is investigating, to see if it was in fact a back injury and not a mishandled concussion.
I just saw the video for the first time, and honestly, back injury sounds plausible. I've heard a lot of people be like, you don't go jelly legged like that unless it's neurological, this, that. I've got lower back issues. Shocker, old man River. But like my wife will tell you, we'll be walking and all of a sudden it's like a sharp pain and you just go jelly and you just drop because you're like, and she'll say something like, Jesus, what's your problem? I'm like, she's like, oh, you're back. But that's what it looked like to me because that was the first time I saw it and I saw him jogging off and then all of a sudden he kind of like goes all like just limp. I would, if it was neurological, and I'm not a doctor, no, I mean, please, I'm just trying to, you've seen these other ones where they get hit and they truly are just, they don't know where they are, what they're doing. So I'll be interested to see what the investigation turns out because that's the first time I've seen it too. And it doesn't seem like anything nefarious, especially if they're wearing those helmets and he's sliding. It's not like he's going straight down. He's getting pushed back and hit the ground, but he's sliding and that coupled with, the jelly leg dance, I see why they pulled him. You have to go. Come here.
Oh, of course. Well, that's the thing. They did the right thing by pulling him to check him out. That's the whole purpose of the concussion protocol nowadays.
And there's nothing wrong with the NFL saying, okay, can we double check your work? Because there's a lot of people who are really pissed off. And quite frankly, it would do all of us, including you all, some good if we just, kind of double checked it. So I see no problem with this. I just had to ask because that was one of the first times I heard about it was on my way home from work. And I was like, I didn't see that yesterday and I didn't get that deep into it. I don't know if you heard, but the U.S. won the President's Cup pretty handily. And it was
I think we talked about that.
It couldn't have worked out better though, because the Pats finished and then we had like the last 7 holes where the Cup's going to be decided. Then that wrapped up and we went into what turned out to be a real awful game with Brady and the Pack. Which that just was not an entertaining game until Brady almost made the comeback and yada, yada, yada. I get it. But like overall.
But I had Aaron Rodgers on my fantasy team, so I was happier with that.
Nobody cares.
And I was going against Tom Brady, so I was happy with the outcome.
Don't be that guy.
I won by 4 points.
All right.
I needed every point.
Then you can be that guy. This is the bitterness of the guy who just did nothing all weekend. But are you seeing? Is Brady fallible? Is this the Giselle slump? You think?
I think we saw it last week. He was so pissed off. He broke 2 tablets on the sideline. Those are the reports. He broke 2 Microsoft Surface tablets. He was so pissed off. And I'm sorry, but when you look at the game this week, there's not really much reason for him to be any happier this week with that game, with the way it happened. So, I think we're seeing a crack. And what's interesting is that I think at this point, everybody thought the crack in Brady's arm was going to be his age and his physical crack. I think we're more so now seeing he's obviously able to do it physically for this long, but we're now seeing the mental game come in because, he has kind of monopolized his family's life for the past however many years, 20-something years, and they're fighting back a little bit. And look, do I see both sides of the argument? Sure, I do. You kind of choose each other in marriage and choose to sacrifice a little bit for each other. But at the same time, I see Giselle being like, I sacrificed for how many years? I see both sides of the argument, but I think it's clear that he's on the edge. He's on a short fuse mentally right now. And that's where, like we joked about it 2 weeks ago on the Sunday morning preview show on Belly Up Fantasy Live, that, I said, is the outside stuff something you need to worry about from Brady from a fantasy aspect? And we all kind of laughed it off and said, no, there's no way Brady will be able to overcome that. The last 2 weeks, I think, have proved us wrong and said, nah, he's benchable in a single QB league right now. He's not to be trusted. And I think there's too much going on.
When's the last time that's been said?
I think there's just too much going on with him right now.
Well, first of all, his plastic surgery looks like crap. Like, it does look like they went to Mexico to get plastic surgery done. No, I'm joking about, because Skeletor over here looks not healthy. It's the kind of, like, that's like stress thin. Like, he looks gaunt. You got like that thing going on. A little too much cheekbone action for me. But that's what I read. His face looks sickly. Giselle's in New York doing photo shoots and modeling gigs and like business ventures that she's been putting off. And that's where people are like, I don't think when Tom says it's not marital, or people say it's not the football, you're right. Oh, sorry, he didn't say it's not marital. He said it's personal shit. And others are saying, it's not the football. It's not him going back to football per se that set Giselle off. I agree. It's probably not that. It could have been anything. Because I think what she's saying is it's my time now. Like you said, she's quoted as saying, I created a cocoon in Massachusetts for my kids. And like, I basically shelved what could have been the prime of my, even though it still was a lucrative career. I think every year they've been together, she's made more money than him. It's like because of her Victoria's Secret.
Oh yeah.
Deals.
She makes so much more money.
So much more money. But it's not about the money when you get to that level. It's about the productivity. Nobody likes to say it, but I mean, she's an artist. She's a creator. She's a model. She's all these things. She's a fashion person. And I think that might be it too. It's kind of like if it may, I love that we're playing this Dr. Phil meets Always Sunny in Seattle knockoff here. But if you look at Tom Brady, I'm not going to say he's never been told no, but when he puts his mind to something, it's his. And maybe she's saying, I'm cut from the same cloth, Tom. So I'm going. You've got the kids. Have fun.
Yep.
See you. See you when I see you. You know where our place is.
See you later, alligator.
It could be. But here's the thing. This could also be 1,000,000% natural marriage type stuff where it is just that simple. Like, it's not the end. It's not even. It might be a fight. I thought we were past this. You obviously need to play some more football. Go have fun. I'll be back in November. She'll be gone till November. But I heard somebody else say something. Don't sleep on the Bucs. They've got people coming back. Aaron Rodgers. I think
they do have people coming back. Right now they are lacking the majority of their weapons. So yes, the Bucs could easily turn it around.
And I think Aaron Rodgers is wonderful, and I think he's going to be a fun press conference all year. I love his answer when somebody said
he's entertaining. He's entertaining, but he is one of the biggest world-class douches in the world. I hate him.
Yes, so wonderful is a misnomer. when I said wonderful, I meant wonderfully entertaining. Like,
yes, wonderfully entertaining is a proper explanation of him.
And I think he's a freaking weirdo. But like, I loved his answer when somebody was trying to make a big deal out of like redemption or something over beating the Bucs. It's like, and he's just like, it's week 3. He's like, it's nice.
Exactly.
Might mean something for tiebreakers down the road, but other than that, good to get a win.
Did you see his post-game press conference? Oh, no, not press conference, but his post-game interview. Aaron Rodgers' post-game interview. I
didn't see it, but I may have read or heard what you're about to reference. I can't look at him ever since I saw the picture of his samurai bun that he's got going on.
I know, it's awful. But
my daughter has that hair. I'm just saying.
He didn't say specifically what he saw, but apparently he saw something on. Now remember, this game was played in Tampa Bay, and he saw something on the jumbotron prior to the final play for Tampa Bay that tipped him off to something that he went over and told the defense. And apparently he saw something that tipped off what the Bucs were going to do on their final play. Apparently he was right because it worked and the defense was able to adjust. I don't know what he saw, but apparently Tampa's jumbotron operator sold Brady and the Bucs out somehow. I don't know how because I haven't seen what he's seen or heard what he's seen, but it's just interesting. It's just interesting.
Well, let's not dox the jumbotron operator in Tampa Bay. The guy probably doesn't even live in Tampa. He probably lives across the bridge and has a nice little normal life. But if that's true, hey, every other news outlet does it. If true, if confirmed, I think that's actually kind of normal, right? They talk about that all the time. Yeah. Did you see the video of Captain Russ Wilson on the sideline telling everybody, run or pass, guys, gotta let him know, run or pass.
I didn't see that, but I heard I don't know, was it Colin? I forget which broadcaster it was, but when Denver scored the game-winning touchdown, he definitely let a Denver fucking scored slip on live air. It was fantastic. I don't know if you've seen that. Look it up. I don't know. I don't know if it was Collinsworth. It was one of the broadcasters. I don't know exactly who it was, but one of them let out and Denver fucking scores.
Well, it was the shittiest game in the entire world. Ross Tucker had a great point earlier today. Said, can't wait to see what the ratings are for that, because if it's 15, 20 million people tuned into that, that's just confirmation that this country has a massive problem. Like, we are addicted to football and sports betting because RIP to anybody. I don't even know what the over-under was, but RIP to anybody who bet the over. I can't imagine.
When we get off the show tonight, I'm going to be turning on Monday Night Football, which is a matchup featuring Cooper Rush and Daniel Jones at quarterback. So, yes,
you know why?
I'm addicted to football.
I want to see how Cooper Rush. My daughter's namesake, Cooper. We little known fact, because we couldn't name her Cooper Rush.
If you say you named her after Cooper Rush, then
we couldn't name her Cooper Rush because we went with Cooper Rose. But yeah, the bottle's out of the cat. We named our kid after the Dallas quarterback. No, but I'm interested because Jerry. Don't you go dying on me.
I'm alive.
Jera.
That snuck up on me.
Jera Jones, after watching his Arkansas Razorbacks. I like that Arkansas and Texas A&M kind of have this neutral site thing going at Jerry's World every year.
Yeah.
It's an old throwback to the Southwestern Conference. I'm a big, not necessarily neutral site all the time, but like Georgia, Florida, and Jacksonville. There's certain games. Oklahoma, Texas at the Texas State Fair. But Jera was asked, with Dak out, what's the deal? What happens if Cooper all of a sudden plays well? Would you have a quarterback controversy? And he said, well, I would welcome that. And basically he was saying, yeah, of course we would, because if somebody's playing that well and you're winning, that's good news for everybody. And he's like, it's not a controversy. And it's funny because the press, he's like, you would call it a controversy, but we would just call it good business. Like, we want our players to be playing well. But what the criticism he's getting is, I guess, he didn't even let out first and foremost, Dak's our guy. Like, we want him to get back as quick and healthy as possible, but blah, 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 blah.
And he comes back and says, we would welcome that.
Because Jerry's the kind of guy who, if you're in business with him for
they just paid Dak. He got paid.
That's the counter. The counter to that was, how does Dak feel about this? And Dak probably would just point to the pile of guaranteed money that's in his contract and go, I don't care. All right, cool. Exactly. It's the Ed Orgeron story when he got fired from LSU. Have you heard this? It's a good one.
No.
He was giving a talk recently, and Ed Orgeron's got a voice that sounds like Chewbacca from Star Wars. I got this old long Cajun voice. Go Tiger. You always have go Tiger.
I've met those people in West Virginia before, sure.
Yeah, but this is Louisiana, but they are the same. Actually, I'm not going to say. Oh, you get shot where I come from talking like that. Cajun folk in the Appalachians.
I know it's different.
Wildly different tribes. We'll have a whole YouTube special on it later. Anyway,
Hatfield and McCoy.
He wins the national title, and then like a year or two later, he's going 4-8 or whatever it was. And apparently, the AD calls him in, or the president calls him in, and says, we got a problem. Things aren't looking too good, coach. We got $12.5 million left on your contract, and we're going to give it to you, and to let you go. And he's like, got anything you want to say? Apparently, his only answer was, when you want me gone and which door you want me out of.
He's getting his money. What does he care?
$12.5 million. After taxes, it's only probably like $6.
But still.
Chunk
the man can afford to take a year off at that point and figure out his next step. He doesn't have the stress, and that's the biggest thing when you lose a job is the stress. But look, before we go, we only have a short time left in the show here. We should turn this around back to golf, because I think we're missing. We haven't talked about a pretty big story in the golf world that I think is going underreported right now, and it's a pretty big move that I'm curious to see if we see some fallout or some echoing from other countries taking this type of step. And that is the fact that Swedish Golf Federation cut ties with Henrick Stenson just because he's on the LIV Tour, or his relationship with the LIV Tour. And the exact quote is, "We believe that Henrick, given his involvement with LIV Golf, can no longer act as a role model for Swedish junior golfers." And that comes from Gunnar Håkansson, the Swedish Federation's Secretary General. I'm sorry. Really?
We did it to our guys.
He can't be a role model because of the tour he chooses to play. It's not like this is Death Race. We're not talking about Death Race here. You remember the movie Death Race? You never saw it? Okay. Well, then bad example, I guess, for the conversation with you. But this isn't like this. The tour that he's playing on is some crazy humane, like that the way they're playing is detrimental to the humanity of the world and a bad example. They're just out there playing golf for money that they weren't getting somewhere else, and they're playing golf a little differently. How does that change Henrick Stenson being a role model for junior golfers? I don't see the connection that they're making to say that they have to cut ties with them. Now, if they want to come on and say that they were going to go with a younger Swedish golfer to be their main, like, kind of spokesperson and face of Swedish golf, like, I get that. Henrik Stenson hasn't exactly been relevant for a couple of years now, but to completely cut ties with him and to blame it on his relationship with Live Golf, I think is outrageous and a line that didn't need to be crossed. Like, how do you feel on it?
I have a question. Are you upset about the language chosen?
I think the language is harsh, but I think just the act in general it wasn't needed. I think this is just one of those shots in a war that just isn't. It doesn't do any good. It's like a shot after the battle's already done that takes out somebody when the fighting's already over. Like, this just doesn't feel like this was something that was needed. It feels like it was just extra fuel on a fire that was already out. Like, they're trying to keep it almost feels like they're trying to keep the negativity rolling when it was starting to dissipate a little bit. And I don't it just feels wrong to me in the sense.
So the Swedish Golf Federation is part of the International Golf Federation, which is basically everything. The International Golf Federation is everything that's not the PGA Tour. Their partners include the DP World Tour, LPGA, PGA of America, Masters Tour, RNA, USGA, Rolex. You see where I'm going with this?
Sure.
So I hear what you're saying in the sense you're just like, it's bad form. Because I was about to say, we did the same. USA Golf has done the same thing to Bryson, Brooks, DJ, and Patrick Reed. I mean, you're not welcome here, period.
And,
now, they didn't.
We've shared similar sentiments about it.
After this week, I know I kind of don't want them playing in international competitions if they're going to sign these live contracts, because be what you're going to be the exhibition tour. Don't try to be more. You're not. Official World Golf Ranking is going to be out the window for these guys because they're not playing 72 holes. Greg Norman went up to Congress hat in hand to try to get a little head start on the antitrust case. He got slapped around in there. I read some of the transcripts, looked at some of the notes, because that's the kind of guy I am and that's kind of the time I have.
Yeah.
This thing, and I go back to what I've said kind of all along, it's entertaining. And I'm glad that Hardy pointed out, and I was like, it's a good product. It's an entertaining product. Good would have the connotation of sustainable, profitable, et cetera, et cetera. Sure. It's a good idea. I think team golf is a fascinating concept. And it is definitely entertaining to watch some of the world's best. Now, Taylor Gooch, they leaked some of his contract, and they are, these guys are going full force next year. The money is there for now, so they're going to go around again.
Yep.
And once again, I think what the World Golf Ranking is going to say is you're not playing enough holes in your tournaments to qualify, period. We award it to 70. These organizations have an out built in, which I don't think is irresponsible. Notch it up to 18 holes. Increase your field size. Not like there are certain requirements.
When it comes to World Golf Rankings, I agree with you there. Like, that's fine. Like, the rules are the rules when it comes to being ranked. I get it. That's fine. Now,
so the rules are the rules when it comes to international play. These tournaments are owned by the other organizations.
Then I think the answer is yes. It's the language they're using. The fact that they're saying Henrik Stenson can't be a role model, I think, is a bullshit excuse by Swedish Golf. I don't see why.
Are we declaring war on the Swedish Golf Federation?
I just don't see why the Swedish Golf Federation can't say that, okay, Henrik Stenson is still, like, why do they have to come out and say Henrik Stenson can't be a role model? Like, that's bullshit. I'm sorry. The man is just out there playing golf still. He's playing golf for money in a different way, but it doesn't mean he can't be a role model. He's not out there killing people. He's not out there disrespecting people. Like, he can still be a role model. Sure. If they came out and turned around and instead said that we are choosing to replace Henrik Stenson with Alex Noren or Jonas Blix exactly. Onyx is a great example. Sure, take the women's approach. Like,
trust me, I guarantee you
Swedish
she has a role in the Swedish Golf Federation.
Well, I'm sure she does, but as far as like the way they said it is that they were almost admitting that Henrick Stenson was like the face of the Swedish Golf Federation in the world, as far as he was because he had an amazing season a few years ago. But why can't they just come out and say that we're gonna start
Rolex?
Yeah, then he's one of the Rolex players. Sure. Why can't they just say we're gonna push Alex Noren or Jonas Blixt or one of these other, David Lingmerth, Robert Carlson? There's a lot of Swedish golfers. Why do they have to come out and flat out say Henrik Stenson can't be a role model? I think that is lazy and bullshit, and that just is fuel to a fire that's not needed. The language, I think, is where they're wrong.
Because this is the NBA, and they had to plant their flag and say, this is the team that we're on, this is the direction we're going, and this is how we feel. They had to send a message to anybody else who might be thinking of chasing money and riding two horses with one ass, because I go back to entertaining, not tournament championship golf, period. The venues,
it can be different.
By the way, the field even isn't. And you can't have 4 or 5 stars and call yourself a champ. So that's where I keep going back to. I think it's fascinating. They said you're not a role model for kids, because I agree with you. It doesn't get me fired up like it does you. I'm smiling because I was laughing my head off about that, and I was like,
I just think it's lazy.
It's just
lazy.
I would have much more respected of the Swedish Golf Federation, which, trust me, I was just as surprised as you were that we were going to start talking about the Swedish Golf Federation.
I know, right? Jeez, talk about
I'm getting another laser cat because I'm on the Swedish Golf Federation website. I swear to God, this is probably the most international traffic they've had.
I have it pulled up right now. That's where I have all these names I'm throwing out from.
All these.
I mean, I know these names anyways, but I need to be reminded, honestly, because a lot of these European countries just kind of blend together. If I'm being honest, as an American, it's ignorant to say, but it's true.
I'm raising my eyebrow at you. My great grandparents came over from Sweden. I take umbrage with your comments, sir. No, but I understand what you're saying. You would have actually probably respected them a little bit more, understood a little bit more if they would have maybe come out and said and they don't even. Okay, I'm going to give you 2. The Bud Pass. The Bud Pass is, and I don't mean pass. I mean, this is the Bud Draft. Sorry, the Bud Draft of what the Swedes should have said, which is essentially, we sincerely appreciate the decades of service and representation Mr. Stenson has given to the Swedish Golf Federation. We understand that he wants to take his career in a new direction, and we wish him all the best. Given our obligations and blah 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 blah, we think it's best for now if we part ways and instead focus on some of the future Swedish golfers coming in the pipeline. Like, you would have appreciated something like that.
We would not even be talking about this subject right now if that was the case.
Exactly.
If they had said that, we would not be talking about this right now.
That's why you have to throw a fire. You have to throw a haymaker. You have to,
But what's the point of the haymaker? Who are they fighting the haymaker against? Like, sure, like Live Golf, but that's my problem with the golf world right now. Like, this division with
web traffic and like PR.
Like, and I get that, but still, like, the fact that they felt the need to throw this haymaker is just not what the golf world is supposed to be about. It's not what it's been about.
Have you ever heard of a man named Albert Schweitzer?
Yes, I've heard the name. Yes.
Before Albert Einstein, Albert Schweitzer was pretty much considered one of the smartest men alive.
Mm-hmm.
And then Schweitzer died, and my mom's best friend's father declared himself the smartest man alive. And then his name was George Gast. And when George Gast died, George Gast passed away. And at George Gast's funeral, my mother, who was George was her godfather, and George's daughter, Gigi, was my mom's best friend. They declared me the smartest man alive. So I am the smartest man alive. It's undisputed. Nobody's disputed it with me, and nobody's proved me wrong.
We have our new clip for the intro.
The smart, and even as the smartest man alive, it doesn't mean I know everything. Conception. It's you wouldn't understand.
You're right.
As the smartest man alive, you're not the smartest man alive. There are certain levels and nuances to this that even I don't understand, right? There's definitely business partnerships, and there's emails,
of course.
And there's all these relationships in politics, and I get where you're going, and sunshine and rainbows and lollipops.
They could have been pushed by sponsorships. I get it. I get the business side. I'm not naive to that.
No, I know.
But grow a set of balls and stand up for what golf is at some point. Like, fuck, to call a man not a god, like not a role model, I think is too far. Like, that's outrageous.
All right, I'm going to play devil's advocate. He's a sellout. He took.
Sure, he's a sellout. That's okay. Why is that not? Why can't he be a role model though for the way he lives his life? Otherwise, though, he's a sellout in his. He's a sellout in his career, but he doesn't mean he's a bad. Like, look, I view the role.
I just like how that was teed up, and it was like he's a sellout.
It was teed up. It was teed up perfectly. You're right. He's the way I view the idea of a role model is someone who carries themselves and represents themselves in a true to themselves fashion, so they can instill confidence in younger generations to do the same, to be themselves and to be true to themselves. Henrick Stenson made a decision for himself and for his family that he is confident and okay with. He did nothing wrong against himself. He did nothing wrong. Sure, he turned his back on the PGA Tour. Whoop-de-fucking-do. It doesn't mean he's not a good role model. He is being true to himself. It's just in the venue that is being talked about. Yes, he can be considered a sellout. But you can say that about so many musicians who just followed their dream. Their dream was to be a star so they can make a difference. Look at Lady Gaga. You're going to say Lady Gaga was a sellout because she came onto the scene by she's admittedly come out and said in public that she purposely was over the top with the meat outfit and all these outrageous, elaborate costumes and persona so that she would be noticed. And then if you've noticed, as her career has tracked on, she has settled it down, and you've noticed her true, pure talent as a singer. She has admitted that she sold herself out so that she could make a difference in the end in the world.
So did
is
John
it wrong?
Mayer.
Is it wrong? Is it wrong to sell yourself out so that you can get to the end result that you believe is right in the world? Is that not being true to yourself? If that's just the path you have to take to achieve it?
There's a Tina Turner song, "Private Dancer," that I really wish I could cue up right now. And it's
I know the song too.
Thank you. Oh my God, the people. Piper Golf and Mahler Bros are definitely happy. They were like, "Yeah, can you take our logos off?" I hear what you're saying. I don't disagree with you that the language is a little bit harsh and saying. I also don't disagree with the Swedish Golf Federation for taking the steps that they did and for using the language that they did. Their mission is to do certain things, and they have I get what you're saying. I don't disagree, right? But sure. I kind of like, you made your bed, you sleep in it.
But there's business sides of this that have to be taken into account.
And Ian Poulter's out there saying, "I hope you regret this someday. I hope yada yada yada." And oh my God, it's like, Pultz, calm down, buddy. It's not. I don't know if you paid attention to the last weekend, because I'll tell you what, nothing that's going to happen in Chicago I don't know if it's Jeddah or Jeddah over the Middle East, or Bangkok, or down in their finale. Nothing's going to touch what happened last weekend. And I don't see Tiger and Rory in the TGL Golf League ceding the spotlight anytime soon. They're trying to launch this thing in January, which means they got 3 months of promo, prep, building. I can't wait till they start leaking out photos of this indoor stadium that they're constructing.
I mean, I know the two of us are going to tune into it. I mean, of course we are. I'm curious.
Well, everybody else who tuned in, you think about how many people, not a ton, tune in to Live just to see a car crash. This isn't a car crash. This is actually like testing of a new car or a flying car.
And that's what it is. I do have to laugh at Liv though, I do have to laugh at Liv a little bit, because I was seeing the promos after the Chicago tournament and how they were saying how the four aces are in unprecedented territory because they've won all the team events at this point. Yeah, unprecedented because nobody plays golf this way until now. Sure.
Yeah, Liv, you need some.
It's not like they're going up against 50 years of history of unprecedented. Like, this doesn't make them special necessarily as a team. It just means that they put together a freaking banger of a team against 6 other teams or 12 other teams, whatever it is.
Well, you remember when they had the draft? You remember they had the draft in the very first one? It was
that's like gone out the window now. And that was supposed to be one of the most exciting things about this thing was a draft on Wednesdays.
It's almost like a fucking men's league pardon my language, golfers league, weekend league.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's almost like one of those where they did a draft in the first one, but if you show up with your own foursome, then you don't have to go to the draft. Well,
yep. And that's
so
a Boston event, and that's what DJ came out and admitted that. He said him and because that was one of the things on the Saturday press conference that I was at, that him and Gooch were saying that DJ
like, why would they?
approached Gooch and said, "Hey, do you have a foursome yet that you're like dedicated to?" He said no, and he said, "Why don't you join ours?" And then he was the last addition to the four races of him, Pat Perez, DJ, and who the hell is the other fourth? Whatever, like the four of them.
Exactly.
But like you said, the second you go to and say we have four that we're not changing, like what, like. Yeah, the draft was one of the more exciting things of this format, in my opinion, because it became
Also,
this. Captains became useful, or not useful, but like the captaincy meant something. It almost kind of rivaled the idea of like, okay, like a captain in a President's Cup, they get to pick their team, and now it means nothing. Now you got Bubba Watson, who's not even playing, who's a captain, walking around just doing on-course commentary, which is great. I think he's entertaining as all hell, but he's a captain of a team and he's not even playing. Like it's just all so muddled now.
Fuck, Hardy was right. Because I loved the opportunity to go out there to do it, to see it, and everything like that. And I do still think, again, I can conceptualize a place where this is fun, but they kind of went about it all wrong. In the long run, PGA Tour champions is where I think they kind of should have targeted this thing. Yeah. I think ego got in there, and Greg Norman, I said it on the golf course to a buddy of mine this weekend. First, Mr. Norman, all due respect, you shouldn't be the story. You should never be out there and hooping it up with the people. Nobody wants the football coach at the party. The football players want a coach who's going to let them go to the party, and then they also know that if they stick around too late, he's either going to show up at 1 and say, "Boys, don't you have a game in the morning?" or he's going to show up at 5 a.m. knocking on their door saying, "Boys, let's go. It's practice time." It's like, secretly, I've worked with kids my entire life, and they want boundaries. Hell, I'm a kid. I'm a big kid, and I still want boundaries. We crave them. And so to expect that there's this amorphous free-for-all that's going to keep going and somehow it'll find its way, I don't see it. In to have Mr. Norman out there shotgunning beers or getting the mullet haircut, you're too much. You need a guy. You need a hype man. Basically, that's what he needs. Thank you. You want to round out the live tour? Let's get Greg Norman a hype man or woman. A hype person. Hell, I don't care if it's a porpoise, but get him to tuck in his damn shirt, put some sunglasses on, stand in the background, wave a couple times, maybe shoot the ceremonial shotgun or whatever, and stop being the face of this. Because that's the other thing. The reason this feels like an ego trip is because he's treating it like an ego trip.
Yep.
There endeth the lesson.
Well, so, okay, I'm glad you brought up the Champions Tour because I think it's a good point. Now, I think obviously some young guys like DJ, Patrick Reed, Cameron Smith, like these are bigger names in the current golf world. I think they could have still had success with some historic names being on this tour.
Freddie Couples, John Daly.
It's guys that are currently on the Champions Tour. Phil Mickelson, obviously, who is on the Live Tour, but you throw in Ernie Els. Look, I'm sorry. I did not know Brian Gay is on the Champions Tour. When the fuck did that happen?
Don't even know who that is. Ernie Els created.
Wait, you know who Brian? I'm sorry. Maybe it's Brian Gay is someone who was always like a value play for me in DFS for golf, like over the past couple of years. So I'm just surprised. I didn't realize he was that old. I did not realize he was old enough to be on the Champions Tour. But like this guy, like Jim Furyk, Ernie Els, Phil Mickelson. Like, I'm sorry, you probably could have put together enough guys from the current Champions Tour where you could have had maybe not the over-the-top firepower, but you still could have had a sustainable firepower of known golfers in the golf world to play. It wouldn't reach the ceiling that they're reaching, but
the reason none of those guys would go, in my opinion, because
sure.
I said it, Rory said it, Will said it, Will Zalatoris.
They're
they're
more
not
classic
offering
traditional guys.
they're not offering life-changing money, and those
That's
guys
fair.
don't need life-changing money. And at their point in their lives and careers, kind of all they had. Phil, I think, was the only one crazy enough at that age
Well,
or in debt. I
I
want
was
to
gonna
know
say that's because his
who did he
gambling debt.
owe?
He needed the money,
Who
and
did
you know
he
what?
who did he owe? And
You know he owed money to the Saudis. You know that was part of it.
he's
I'm
not
sorry. I'm
Phil's
sorry.
not Phil's not placing bets with the Saudis.
Give me a break. The man
And
places
also,
bets on what the man places bets on how big the head on his beer is going to be when it comes up on the bar. I mean, come
right,
on.
but you don't he's not well, are you saying that, oh wait a minute, are you saying that he's basically not getting paid anything and he's an indentured servant to the Saudis playing golf?
It wouldn't shock me. I'm not
No,
saying
do
that
not
for sure.
shock
I don't
me.
have
What?
I don't have any evidence to back that up, but would it shock me if he's paying off debts right
No,
now? Not at all.
Yeah, no, he is, but not in the way we just put together, because this thing's not making money yet. So it's
Yes.
just basically like, no, he has no freaking money to the Saudis. He probably does just have some gambling debts. I would be shocked if there's a couple of Vegas casinos or some private bookies who,
Oh, definitely, yeah.
who. So all that said, like, you get to that point, you can't get the old guys. When I said the PGA Tour champions is who I'd be worried about, is because if this exhibition thing keeps going, that's who's going to siphon off, like you said, the Jim Furyk's, the Phil Mickelsons. They're going to start Taylor Gooch, here on PGA. All right, come on over to Live and then play 20 years on Live.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, the PGA Tour champions isn't. I mean, I'm sorry, it could shut down tomorrow, and it's not going to change a whole lot of lives outside of the people who are directly involved with it. It's not a massive moneymaker. It's not a huge rate. It's not a huge ratings thing. So if they're going to do anything,
as far as TV coverage goes, it's the prequel to the main event. Like it's the PGA Champions Tour is on from your 12 to 2, and then
Golf Central.
Like on the weekend, it's like what 11 to 2 is the Champions Tour, and then at 2:00 the main coverage starts of whatever PGA Tour event is going on the weekends on CBS or whatever channel, Golf Channel.
Champions Tour hadn't been on CBS in decades.
Well, that's fair. But that's why I say Golf Channel. I threw that in there too.
To highlight once more, it's where it's like, I don't mind. I'm going to hang my hat on this, and then I'm going to hang up the phone. And this is good life lesson. If you've got kids, go wake them up, bring them in. Uncle Bud's got some life lessons for you. Be who you are. Be organic. Don't try. I mean, coming from this guy with my motor mouth and my brain, and I know I get it. I got a lot to answer for myself, but I'm not trying to fake it. You got to own it. And the Live Golf is not owning it right now. They are trying to. They're Rudy showing up to a Letterman, a varsity party, but he's got his own little Letterman jacket that he got from the thrift store on. It's kind of like, oh man, like, I don't know. We don't know what to do with you, because we get it. You play with us, and technically you're out there and you're taking the hits and everything, but you're not actually one of us, right? Like, that, right? Terrible analogy to all the Notre Dame fans. Because Liv is way less endearing than Rudy was. But the point being is, be who you are. Say you're an exhibition, and I guess the better analogy is back to the basketball world, where I say, if somebody walked up to Kevin Durant and said, "I understand you're sitting here trying to figure out where you want to play next. You want to come over here and play 3-on-3 ball for twice the money?" Excuse me, what?
Yeah,
like
he'll do
NBA
that
teams, whatever a super max that he's looking for, 32 million, 40 million, whatever it is. I mean, if some billionaire was like, "I'll give you $100 million a year to come over here and play 23-on-3 exhibition matches with 6 other pros that James Harden, or people like that who you might be able to snipe out and go, again, you want 10 more years over here making twice the money, or do you want 3 more years over here, maybe, and you might sprain an ankle or get elbowed in the face at any given moment and shatter an eye?" Like, that's also where I put it in the just accept where you are. You didn't come out offering an apple for apples product. You came, we're over here eating apples, and you're like, here's a plum. It's like, oh, I get it. It's juicy. It's fruity. It's not as filling. It's nice.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's refreshing and different, but we're apple people, and we're going to go this way with our apples, because you can do much more with the apples. So Live, I'll tune in. Maybe not. It depends on if I'm busy. I could not care less about the golfers that they have over there. I don't.
Yeah.
And I don't think that those golfers they have over there move enough needles outside of their own immediate circles to actually do anything. So more to come. We'll shit on Liv more later. For the meantime, don't sleep on the Sanderson Farms. Sanderson Farms this weekend down in Mississippi. Great tournament. Sam Burns, after the Man on Fire tore through the field and still didn't have a win for the week. I mean, God, he was burying.
I know, that's crazy.
Shots. It's crazy.
It's because he was paired with Scotty Scheffler.
Exactly.
But anyways,
world number one was dragging him down, but he's going to be at the Sanderson. Christian Bezuidenhoven is going to be back there. Benny On is back on the PGA Tour a little bit. So
there we go. You got to love you some Benny On.
Got to love you some Benny On. So there's reason to watch golf this weekend, but not as much reason as there is to watch football. You need to go to bed, don't you?
I do need to go to bed. And you know what? Maybe next week we get into a conversation about whether this live model is successful in coexisting with the PGA Tour, because we keep drawing comparisons to like the NBA and the 3-on-3 league. Maybe next week we talk a little bit about whether we could see this model, if live is successful, being replicated.
How does it coexist?
No. If eventually at some point we could see it being a threat to be replicated in other sports around the world, because I think NBA is probably the closest thing where it could be, because you could play a game of 3-on-3. I think hockey would be next, where you could play a game of 3-on-3. They do it at the All-Star. Obviously, baseball and football I think is a different animal, but maybe this is what I'm talking about is the replication of somebody just coming in and paying players a bunch of money to play nothing but expedition match.
How about a home run derby tour?
Well, exactly. Something like, I mean, and that's basically what the long drive tour is. You know what I mean? So does this create a scenario where we see sports culture change across multiple sports? Like, if this has success, do we see something change where money becomes even more king than it already is in sports?
It doesn't have to change. It's going to do its job. Or let me rephrase that. Sorry. It doesn't have to succeed. Change is coming. Just like bedtime's coming. So thank you once again to Piper Golf, Mahler Brothers. Belly up for letting me play in your sandbox every week. And, of course, Fantasy National Golf Club, keeping you up to date, whatever you need. It was President's Cup last week. They're going to get you on Sanderson Farms. Oh, last but certainly not least, if anybody's looking at this going, it says it's a fantasy golf show, but you didn't say one thing about fantasy golf this week. Listen, the real fantasy season doesn't start until January. We got football to talk about. We got a lot of off-season gossip to talk about.
This is the middle ground. The middle ground time for golf. So we're hanging out.
That's why we have pivots in the title. So Andrew, I'll let you.
I was going to say, you brought up Belly Up Sports. There is big announcements coming from Belly Up Sports, where we are going to have finally, after months of hard work, our own app that you will be able to download on Amazon Fire, on Roku, on Apple TV. You'll be able to download the Belly Up and watch all. I mean, you can already go to certain apps within those devices and watch all of our shows and other shows on the Belly Up Network on bellyup.tv as on demand, but we are going to have our own app where it's going to be even easier to find all of our shows. So be on the lookout for those announcements. That's going to be coming out any day now. Honestly, I've been seeing a lot of chatter about it on the back end. So be on the lookout for that. Belly Up Sports, Belly Up Media, bellyup.tv is going to be where you're going to want to go to catch all of your sports live, 24/7 coverage all the time. It's going to be that simple. That's going to do it for us on Divots and Pivots this week. We're going to join you next week back to our normal day on Tuesday. Like I said, this will re-air. If you're watching us live on Monday night tonight, thank you for tuning in with us a day early. We will re-air this tomorrow night on Tuesday night on our normal scheduled hour.
Oh, my God.
Yes, we will. But next week, we'll be back to our normal Tuesday 8 o'clock hour on YouTube, on Twitter. So catch us as always. Piper Golf, Mahler Brothers. As always, thank you. We will check you next time. I think Bud is about to fire.